Okay, everybody, this is a follow-up video to I did maybe a year ago. It deals with an experience that I had when I was either 7 or 8 years old in College Park. And recently I was watching a video dealing with the fact of alien abduction, alien contact, even as far back as when Eisenhower had his actual communication and contact with some aliens in the 50s. And the video is actually this. It's called the Aldebaran Mystery. Now, in this video, I'm going to incorporate a picture that I saw for the first time in the video. And when I saw it, something in my mind clicked. And it made me think back to the video that I had posted of an actual contact that I had myself of a gray. I was in bed one night in my house up in College Park, and I woke up in a semi-conscious state because I was partially still asleep. And you know, it was hard to see because when you're like that, they say usually you can't move around, you can't really do anything except you can look with your eyes at something or somebody or whatever might be in the room. And I saw an outline of a gray in the room. It was silky colored, which means that there was a contour figure there, and you could make out the outline of the figure itself, but there was no distinction about where clothing would have been on the figure and where, you know, anything else. I saw eyes, black, opaque. But with my experience, I remember that the figure had sort of a pointed head at the top of it. It just went up to like a crest, like this. And when I saw this program, the Aldebaran Mystery, they had a photograph of an alien, and its contour reminded me a lot of this figure I saw. It was pitch black in the room except for a light that was coming in from the moon outside my window, because the moon and the window were behind me. So I'm in bed and I'm looking across the room towards the door. Although sometimes it's confusing. I mean, we're talking something like 42 years ago, and sometimes when I'm envisioning this thing, I'm looking at it from the perspective I'm in bed at the door, because I used to have the bed next to my door, and then sometime later we moved it where it was actually in front of the window, and then I would look straight towards my door. I'm more inclined to say that it was during the time when it was still by the door, my bed, because I remember that the figure was standing more or less near to the door, to the window, than it was towards the door. So that's where the only confusion there is about the figure, not what it looked like, because I could see it very, very clearly. As a matter of fact, my experience of this figure was the light from the moon was bright enough that I made out certain distinctive things about the height of it. Was something like maybe 4.5 feet high, maybe not quite 5 feet. It never spoke to me, it never did anything except stand there, and it was looking in my direction. And there was one other experience I had of what I assume it to be was a different alien, because it was at a different time. And this particular alien was in my face. And I've said this before in another video, that it was yelling. It was very, very upset because I could see its eyes very clearly. It was like right there in my face. It was right in my face. The pigment of its skin was pure white. There was no color, really. It was just a white, non-pigment texture. The eyes had a bluish yellow color or greenish color, like the pupil was kind of bluish around the iris, but then the outer part of the eye, which is like the retina, or anyway, that part of it looked yellow. So it was like yellow, blue, green kind of, but I saw it very distinctly because that was really what I kept seeing when I saw this thing in my face. Now, the reason for the video is to bring out something that I haven't mentioned in the other video. About 2 months ago, I talked to an individual who works for the Mutual UFO Network, which is MUFON. I had initially reported an unidentified flying object that I sighted in Sharpsburg, and I began to experience or explain to him when I talked to him on the telephone about other experiences I've had, you know, even before I saw this object, and it doesn't relate to this at all. And so I began talking to him about my personal sighting, or being actually in the presence of something in my room. And the more we talked, the more interested he got, and it got to the point he wanted to hypnotize me, or he wanted to send me to one of the MUFON researchers who do hypnotism on patients, or people who actually do these reports, or who report alien abduction or alien contacts. And I told him that even though I really seriously want to know what happened, I have a very strong will, and I don't believe that they could have hypnotized me, even if they could have. Plus, to go there, it would have cost me quite a bit of time and money to drive that far, because they're up north of Atlanta, and I'm 30 miles already from there. But the man who does the hypnotisms for MUFON said that they use a very generalized type of hypnotism, in such that you're not relaxed with sedatives. You're not brought into hypnotism through some really strong technique. It's a very generalized type of ability that they use to make your mind remember things. And I've had a hard time all my life remembering certain things that I've always wanted to remember. So here I'm saying, this guy wants to hypnotize me, but I'm already having a hard enough time remembering the things I do remember. And but for MUFON to ask me to do that, I felt like there's more to it than just them wanting to get facts. I think they really wanted me to tell them more details of what I remembered about this alien, this thing that I saw. It isn't against my feelings of religion. I don't know if I believe entirely that there is other life, because if God intended for us to know of other life, he would have told us in the Bible, but he didn't. Most of my life I've been in a Christian school, and this is what my teachers always told me. He said, we believe that what there is going on is an actual fight that's going on between angels and the devil and his demons. And the demons themselves are actually fallen angels, which means they are capable of doing things that can manipulate and alter your perception of what you're looking at. In other words, they can make themselves look like anything they want to. So what was in my bedroom could have been an actual demon. And it was manipulating me at my young age to think that I was seeing something that might not truly be anything except a demonic spirit who was trying to manipulate me or do something. It never approached me. It stood there, and I saw it from afar off. So maybe it already knew that I had God's protection around me, and it wasn't going to do nothing. So that's why, for me, I don't feel comfortable saying I would want to be hypnotized, because if this is demonic or something of a demonic nature that was trying to communicate with me, then you know, Satan's all around us all the time anyway, so he could have done anything to me. So I left it at that. I just said, I want to know, but at the same time, I don't know if it would have really have helped, because before I ended the conversation with MUFON, they said to me, a lot of people we talk to feel the same way about you, the way you do about it. And he said some people have come, they were attempted to be hypnotized, and we couldn't. They could not be psychologically, they couldn't be reached. They couldn't be brought into that semi-conscious realm where they could actually talk about what they experienced. So he said, I don't know if we could have gotten this hypnotism done, whether it would have been successful. He says, we don't guarantee it'll be successful. All we can tell people is it's something you ought to consider doing, and it's up to you to decide if you want to do it or not. And so that's why I told him, I said, I think I'm just going to leave it at this. I've had an experience I'll never forget. Nothing happened that was of a traumatic nature except for that one instance where it was in my face and it was very upset. These were two different events. I know that from everything I remember. And why was it mad at me the second time? I don't know. Maybe it wanted to do something, and I said, forget it. I'm not going to tolerate it. I'm not going to accept whatever it is you wanted. And so it meaning it could have very likely been a demon. It was trying to do something, and God was protecting me, and all the demon could do was be in my face and trying to make me feel intimidated or scared or whatever. And what's my impression of what I felt? Well, it was something, and being that young, I feel like I wasn't scared of it, because I knew that whatever this thing was, it had limitations of what it could do to me. And that's why all it was doing was like that in my face. That's it. And never have had any experiences since then. Just seeing various things in the yard outside. I've had 2 experiences now of seeing an actual circular dirt pattern in my yard in 2 different homes. And I haven't had any more experiences of anything being seen. But I wanted to explain about what MUFON had said about the experience I saw of whatever this thing was that appeared in my bedroom. And as I've said before in the other videos, let me close in saying this. The family that owns the house now will not allow anybody to go in there. What does that mean? It doesn't mean that they're too snobby. It doesn't mean that they're too closed-minded. It isn't that maybe they are selfish, or they just are conceited enough to think that somebody's trying to use them or take advantage of them, and that's not the case at all. That's not what this is about. This storyline is about one thing, and knowing what happened. And that house has a lot of psychokinetic energy in it, because I've had other experiences in that house besides seeing an alien. I've seen a ghost in the house. I've actually photographed it from across the street one time with my 110 camera. I've seen faces in one of the doors of the house at the front. I've identified at least 3 different faces in just one picture. So there's a lot of things going on in that house, and they still to this day will not talk about it. They will not allow anybody in that house, and that is why this thing probably will never end, because the family that owns that property will not talk about it. Thank you.